Hello and welcome to this short video from Astranti, and today we're looking at a subject that comes up and will be really useful in CIMA E2 and CIMA E3, and this is all about product life cycle. Hold on a minute, product life cycle? How can there be such a thing as a product life cycle? Products aren't babies, they don't grow up, they don't mature, they don't get old, do they? Well, that's exactly what we're going to be looking at in today's video, and if you're sitting in an E3 video, then everything you need to know about product life cycles is in this video. Well, I say everything. Remember to check back next week for the final part. Let's get going. Well, let me ask you a question. What is your best strategy for getting through the day alive? If you're a baby, then perhaps your best strategy would be to cry and to scream, and eventually someone will come along, take pity on you, and meet your needs. However, if you're a fully mature adult, and we can assume if you're watching this video you are, your best strategy would not be to scream and cry. It's very unlikely to work. Your best strategy to keeping alive is to drive safely, keep fit, and not start any fights. So we can see that the strategy depends on where you are in your life cycle. And this analogy can be applied to both individual products, so perhaps the market for a particular model of mobile phone, and industries as a whole, the whole mobile phone market. And to assess either the industry as a whole or a given product within it. We can then use the assessment to predict competitive conditions and formulate relevant strategy. Different strategies, remember, are appropriate in each stage of the life cycle. So, what would the life cycle be for a product? Well, after a period of development, a product would be introduced into the market. If the product meets customer needs, consumers recognize this, new customers are gained and revenues would grow. Eventually, the market reaches saturation and the product becomes mature and revenues level off. After a period of time, the product is overtaken by development and the introduction of superior products, so the sales of this product go into decline and it is eventually withdrawn. And we can see that these products happen on our chart over time. But to the left we also have a sales label, and as we go through each of these life stages individually, we'll chart the sales and the profits of each section. So let's have a look at our first section, which is obviously development. And in developing new products, companies tend to go through set stages. So let's have a look at some of these. So we have two sections at the moment, activities and costs. And activities, the very first stage would be the idea generation. And you do this through market research and an understanding of customer needs and desires. Secondly would be screening, a high-level review to rule out infeasible ideas, which would consider market demand, customer needs, competition, technical feasibility, and likely profitability. Number 3 would be the idea testing, where you would test the concept with potential customers. Answers and reactions would have to be noted so you could improve the concept. Number 4 would be the business analysis, where you would decide on the selling price, the likely demand, and then, of course, the likely profitability. Number 5 would be beta testing and market testing, where you prototype the product and test it with consumers, making adjustments where necessary. And lastly, technical implementation, where you would design the production process and set up the operation. But as we can see, we also have a side of costs. And the first would be research and development. You would also incur salaries of the design staff, and also you'd have to pay for the prototype manufacturing. So let's zoom back out now and look at our life stages chart. And in the bottom left hand corner you can see the profit line, and at the moment it's not going in the right direction. That's because we've had no sales and we've incurred the costs we have just talked about. We now move on to the introduction of the product, which involves price skimming. Because in the introduction stage, significant costs are incurred in continued product development and marketing, and sales volumes are often low. So a price skimming strategy is often followed. And in this strategy, a high initial price is charged to capitalize on early adopters who often purchase new products, or people who have a highly specific need that are willing to pay more for. As demand decreases, the price can be gradually decreased or skimmed. So let's look at a real world example and think about Apple's iPod in 2001. It was a revolutionary product that, combined with the iTunes Music Store, introduced the concept of portable digital music. Apple had a first mover advantage and could operate a price skimming strategy, charging a very high price for the iPod and setting the price of legal download sales for the entire industry. So that's introduction and price skimming covered. Let's look at now and look at our chart. And the yellow line is sales, and we can see that now we are starting to have some sales, and as such our profits are starting to level off, because of course sales minus costs equals profits. So we're starting to recoup some of the development costs. Now onwards to growth, and here we could see that the product sales beginning to rise. Competitors would be attracted into the market with similar offerings, and as a result the typical strategy followed here is market penetration, where prices are lowered and marketing increased. The aim is to win the market share and become one of the leading players in the market. Often at the end of the growth stage there is the shakeout, and this is where the least successful entrants pull out of the market due to a lack of profitability or are purchased by the larger competitors in their aim to increase the market share. A market penetration policy throughout the growth stage helps to avoid the organisation being one of the losers during the shakeout. And let's return to our MP3 example, because after the iPod was introduced, a flurry of competition in both the MP3 player market and the online digital music store grew dramatically. New entrants entered the market, such as Amazon and Google, and competition came in the MP3 market, with most electronics manufacturers making their own versions. So what's happening to our chart? We can see that sales are really starting to spike, and of course our profits are increasing. And there we go, that's today's video. I hope you found it really useful and informative, and I hope it's going to make a real difference for your E2 and your E3 exams, and of course in your future careers. Thanks very much, and if you want more of these videos that are giving you short bite-sized topics of your CIMA syllabus, be sure to subscribe. Thank you.